When was the last time you took a leap of faith, trusting that everything is going to work out? Do you crave growth, or are you merely content with the status quo? If you want more out of your life, out of your career, and out of your relationships, you are in the right place. Take the leap and discover how to create a life by design rather than living it by default. Real success starts with you. Now here's your host, Colleen Biggs.
All right, listeners, hello, and welcome back to another episode of Take the Leap. I am your host, Colleen Biggs. And as you know, week after week, we have some amazing women and men. We've had a few men on this show lately that have come to the podcast. And for me, it's all about when I meet someone. Tess was a referral of a friend of mine here in the Valley where I live in Arizona, Melissa Leon. And when I meet someone, there's just this immediate connection usually where I'm like, hey, I really think you need to be a guest on my podcast because what you have to say needs to get out to the world. And so that's why I invite these special guests to be here. And Tess Waresmith is really no different than any of the, well, she stands out on her own, I'll tell you that. Then some amazing guests that I've invited onto the show. And what I love about what we're talking about today is just all these stories that women tell themselves about money. I'm bad at money. I don't need money. No, I don't need the money. So I just give my services away because it's this whole money mindset crap story that they're feeding themselves. And I can't tell you how many women I've met. Then they'll finally hire me because they're like, okay, I'm sick of not making money. And now I need to figure out how to make money. And then we've got Tess now, which is a great addition to that because she's lost a lot of money. She's had to teach herself and learn from others about investing to build her wealth. And that's an area that I don't see too many women dabbling in. So it's a great topic for today's show. But before we get to Tess and get to meet her and dive into more about her story and learn all about investing, I want to thank our sponsor of today's show, Peaceful Living. Why do we allow stress to compound in our lives, affecting our sleep and our daily rituals? The truth is, we all live with stress, but imagine what it could feel like if we didn't suffer from stress. I love that. Are you ready to feel better, sleep better, and change your overall relationship with tension? Peaceful Living can help you bring more peaceful moments into your day. Peaceful Living offers simple tools, live stream and on-demand classes, and customized self-care success plans. Imagine if you had simple ways to slow down and restore your energy without taking big chunks of time away from your schedule, and they know it's possible. And they're here to help. The founder, Roberta Hughes, will be your guide every step of the way. So make sure you visit Peaceful Living at the link we have below, and you can begin your journey with a free membership. You use code LEAP and you can receive your first month for free. Thank you, Roberta, for being the sponsor of today's show with Peaceful Living. I love her freaking yin yoga. It's amazing. I use it on a regular because most people don't stretch enough, by the way, and that causes a lot of health issues in our body. And her yin yoga, she is just awesome. I can't hold a 5-minute pose without her classes. I'll just tell you that. There's a way that she does it where I don't even know I've been in the pose for as long as I have. So let's go ahead and get back to Tess. She's a financial coach and the founder of Wealth with Tess, a financial education community that helps women business owners learn how to grow their money using simple investing strategies so they can retire comfortably, chase their dreams, and live life on their terms. So, like I said, she lost $80K in a bad investment choices in her 20s. That would be pretty devastating for most Tess. I think they would have just given up at that point. So she learned everything she could about wealth building and built her net worth from negative $80K to $1 million as a single 35-year-old woman. I'm going to help you change your bio up, Tess. It needs to be negative $80K to $1 million. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. And I'm so glad Melissa Leon connected us. She's an amazing human. And
Yeah.
I've thought I can't technically say negative because I was positive. I was never negative net worth. So while I
Oh, yeah.
lost the money, so
Yeah.
it's hard to say exactly, but yes, I had a comeback story for sure financially.
Yeah. So we've all made the stupid choices. And it's funny because I've even made them in my 50s. I thought I would have learned in my 20s and my 30s. And then it's like, okay, no, I've read this contract. I said, it's all good. Like, I trust this company. And then before you know it, 50 grand later, and you're pulling the plug after 2 years because they didn't deliver what they promised to deliver. So there's always going to be hacks out there like that. But we're here to kind of squash some of that today because you're working with women who feel like I'm so far behind. So you must be working with women that are probably in their 50s, I'm assuming, or 40s, 50s, 60s. And they're like, oh, yeah, retirement. Wait, I got to ask, is it all about retirement, Tess? Because
No.
do women really want to retire these days? I don't.
No, it's all about options, right? So I
Oh,
work
okay.
with women anywhere in their 30s, 40s, and 50s. And I'll tell you a secret, Colleen, every single woman thinks they're behind, sort of regardless of how far, or most women, I should say, not every single, but most of the women I work with feel like they're behind. And sometimes my work is fun and pointing out that they're doing better than they think and they have enough time to truly change the future. And if you are in your 30s, 40s, or early 50s, regardless of where you are financially, there is still time to change what your financial future looks like. But no, we're not just talking about retiring comfortably. That is important. It's important to have the option to, in case you can't work in the future, in case your life changes and you want to spend your time a certain way. But I work with a lot of amazing women that they don't necessarily want to retire. When we talk about multiplying the money from their business through investing, we're talking about having more options to live life on their terms, whatever that means for them, whether that's starting a new business or working less in their business or having the option to start something new or start a passion project or spend more time with their family, have security, safety, all that stuff. So, we talk about money in the sense of what it can do for us in the long term from a retirement perspective, but I actually prefer the term financial flexibility because that's what you're really creating in the near term when you
Mhm.
start multiplying that money that you're working so hard for by investing.
Yeah, I don't really believe in retirement. I've said it 1,000 times on my show. I just don't. For me, I feel like when we give up on like working and give up on the things we love or give up on passions and then you just kind of like retire, well, then what do? You're like just waiting to die. I don't know. It just
Yeah.
to me, it just seems crazy. I'm really not about that life. I would rather just continue doing what I love to do until the day I die, when that time comes and kind of be flexible with my time and how I want to do that versus like retiring. I've seen so many people just stop and then they just stop like their life and everything. And then they have all these health issues. And, when you're really not living for something anymore. But finances is why people generally continue working late in years because they have to earn income to pay for food, electricity, a roof over their head. I mean, let's be real about that. There are, I'm sure, because women got a late start, we couldn't get loans or have bank accounts or any of that 30 years ago. So we're kind of already far behind. So what are you finding out about like education when it comes to wealth for women? Do they understand investing, wealth, what to do with their money, how to do all of that? What are you finding, Tess?
Yeah. So, in for the most part, no. Most of us didn't get a financial education when we were growing up from our families or parents. Certainly, it wasn't in school systems. When I was in high school, college, there were no personal finance classes. And if there are, they're very basic stuff like credit or saving money. And I think the message to women has often been in a little bit of gaslighting, right? In the media, you hear a lot of, you need to save money, stop buying pumpkin spice lattes, whatever like gaslighting crap that's put out there to make us feel bad for spending money. That's not really the problem. There's such a lack of understanding of not just how to save, but also how to invest and multiply the money that we're working so hard for. And if we had gotten this education earlier in our life, it becomes a lot easier because you don't have to invest as much thanks to compound interest. And so I think that there's so many pieces of education missing from the puzzle, and I'm doing my best to close as many of them as possible. But one of the biggest issues is the education that is out there is not digestible. It's full of financial jargon. It's intentionally confusing. I think the financial industry thrives when people don't understand what they're doing, right? It makes it easier for them to sell us products, for financial advisors to do whatever they want with our accounts that's going to potentially help them financially. And that's not a blanket statement. There are incredible financial advisors, many of which I'm close with, but you can't possibly know if you're working with somebody great if you don't get a basic financial education and a basic investing education. And I think one of the biggest problems is now there is more education out there, but there is such a steeped belief that investing is super complicated and not accessible to the average woman, when in reality, to be a successful investor, you don't need to know everything about the stock market. You don't need an economics PhD. You need a basic education. And I have programs like my online and beginner investing program, my group coaching programs. These are 4-week programs. They're not months, they're not years, they're weeks to learn the basics of getting your money working for you in the stock market. And so, Colleen, I guess my favorite way to like put a pin in this point is that my favorite metaphor is if you're driving a car, you have to get your license and you have to, take driver's ed, and then you can drive the car. You don't need to be a mechanic to get from A to B, right? And that's what investing is. Like, to learn the basics enough to contribute and to benefit from the returns of the stock market, you don't need to be a mechanic. You just need to learn how to drive the car, and that takes weeks.
Yeah, I love that analogy. It's great because we just take the car in, right, when there's issues with that. How did you get into doing this after the bad investment? What happened after that?
Yeah, so I was very fortunate enough in my 20s to get a job where I got to save a lot of money really quickly, which was great because I grew up with a deep fear of money and not having enough money, and came from a lot of divorce. My parents were collectively divorced 7 times. So I knew that I had to take care of myself financially. And so I got this wild job as an aerial acrobat on cruise ships, mainly because I got rejected.
No way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, I would not have put that together. Like everyone that's listening right now, yes, I'm as shocked as you are. I'm like, what did she just say? Did she say aerial acrobat on a cruise ship? Okay, so great.
Yeah, I actually just had a story come out with Business Insider last week that's like, from aerial acrobat to self-made millionaire. And like, by the way, that took like 12 years. So that was not overnight. But yeah, and the reason I took this job was because I graduated from college in 2009, couldn't find a job. It was deep recession. So I literally went off to join the circus. And what was great about this is that I was able to save a lot of money because they pay for your food and your accommodations. So I knew enough to know that I wanted to invest, but I had no idea how to do it. I thought you had to pick stocks. I thought you had to time the stock market. I thought you had to do all these things. And so instead of trying to learn more of the basics for myself, I hired a financial advisor, a fiduciary. Fiduciary means somebody obligated to act in your best interest. And there was somebody I knew, somebody I grew up with, and I hired them and gave them my money and just kind of said, make it be more, and stopped paying attention. And after a few years, I got into other types of investing, real estate investing. And so I started to pay more attention to the returns, and I started to want to know what my accounts were returning. And in the period of working with this financial advisor, the average return of the stock market, I figured out, was like 15%. And I was getting like 5-6% returns, and I couldn't understand it. And so The long story short is that this person didn't act in my best interest. And, I don't think, Colleen, they're necessarily a bad person. I think the industry just incentivizes them to put certain types of investments in your account. They incentivize them to sell you products that they get a commission for, and that's how they make money. And so
Yeah.
I was sold a terrible product, an annuity, when I was in my 20s, which was not suited for me at all. I was sold, or I had multiple funds in my investment account that had extraordinarily high fees. I was paying a high fee on top of that to the advisor. And so all in, all of these mistakes were tens of thousands of dollars. And that doesn't include what that money could have compounded to if it was just invested in the stock market getting the average return. And so when that happened, I was devastated, shame spiral. I felt so stupid because my whole goal was to do the right thing. And then after that, when I learned how simple investing really can be and how much more capable we are of managing a super simple buy and hold portfolio, I honestly felt morally obligated to start educating people on this because I couldn't believe how much simpler it was than I thought. And so I had success with that. And now I run a company providing financial education because it's so avoidable. These mistakes are so avoidable. The opportunity for us to grow our money is right there. We just need someone to teach us in a way that's digestible and accessible. And so that's my goal as an educator.
Yeah, I love that. And thanks for sharing that story about you. That's just crazy. You've had quite a life. And I love that you said I felt morally obligated because if it's happening to me, how many other people out there is the same thing happening to? And it is a shame that that's the way it's incentivized, which isn't allowing the outcome to be advantageous to the actual client, which is a shame, really. If someone's like, well, I have my money in the stock market. Now that you're saying that, I feel like I need to go look at my my portfolio and maybe I'm being sold a bill of goods or maybe I'm paying high fees. Do you educate on that of someone who maybe already has their money somewhere, how to look at that, how to understand it a little bit better? What is the part of the coaching that you do and the educating that you do?
Yes, absolutely. So most of the women that I work with have some kind of exposure to the stock market already, whether they realize it or not. So just to level set, if you're listening to this, you're probably already an investor. You probably have an old 401k with some money sitting in it. Maybe you have an IRA. Maybe you have a 529 for your kids. All of those things are investing accounts. And I think it's a little bit of a shame that there's a misnomer that these are like retirement savings accounts, because they are, but they're investing accounts. Like your money has exposure to the stock market. So most people that I talk to have something like that, even if it's just a couple $1,000s. And so what I like to do is, one, identify all the things that we want to do first. So my process and framework for working with people is, one, let's identify your financial goals first, right? What are your short-term goals? What are your long-term goals? And then where are you right now financially? Because if you're not making enough to cover your expenses, then it's going to be hard to invest. So before you even invest, you got to figure out what your cash flow looks like, how money comes in and out of your account. And then once you've done that, then you can start to invest more thoughtfully, invest a specific amount per month. There are so many people, Colleen, and myself included, by the way, like all the mistakes that I talk about. I just wrote a blog post that was 7 things I'd never do with my money, ... now, because I did six of them myself. But some of those things are like investing a random amount of money per month without looking at our cash flow and seeing, oh, wait, I actually can invest more. Because while we can't necessarily control what the stock market is going to do, we can control how much we contribute. And that can give us a better chance of our money compounding to even larger numbers over time.
Yeah.
So when I work with people, we start from what are your goals and what's your current financial situation to let's evaluate your existing account, find some easy ways to potentially ensure that you're getting a better opportunity from your current investments. And then what can you do beyond that? And so a lot of what I do is working with women that are working with advisors that aren't a good fit for them, that are investing too conservatively because they don't know what that means. Usually when you work with an advisor, you go through a platform, it'll ask you, do you want to invest conservatively or aggressively? If you have no idea what that means, then it's hard to answer that question. And so, yeah, everywhere from, the basics of your foundations, which are incredibly important to invest, to figuring out how much you can invest, where, and how to do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's so important. And where can they find out more about that? I know we have a link for the Savvy Investor Starter Pack for female founders. Is that the link that you want them to click on?
Yeah, that's going to be the best place to start because that actually walks you through the 4-step process that I just gave you. It also includes my contact information, resources, and there's even a link to a free training inside that guide. So that's definitely the best place to find me, moneyconfidentcoach.com/savvy.
Okay, great. Good. So we have that moneyconfidencecoach.com. That's another place that you can go out and find Tess. What is the one message that you definitely want to share with women? I mean, you've shared so much, but another, final message that you want to share with them today, just as a reminder for them, because I know they immediately go to shame, right? That's the immediate thing, like, oh, I should have known. Well, you don't know what you don't know. So you shouldn't have known.
Yeah. Yeah. If you're listening to this and you feel triggered at all, I would say give yourself some grace because we aren't given this information in a way that's accessible to us. But it's also your responsibility to make a change because at the end of the day, nobody cares about your money more than you, not your partner, not your advisor. And we outsource things that we don't understand, but outsourcing your money, which is your lifeline, your security, your safety, is dangerous without a financial education. So for your benefit and for women around you, and if you have daughters, you want to learn this stuff so you can help them, right? So there's so much power in this knowledge. You don't have to be a full-time investor, but get a basic financial education. You'll be so grateful that you did.
I love that so much, Tess. Thank you so much for being a guest on today's show. You can reach Tess at moneyconfidencecoach.com. You can also go to moneyconfidencecoach.com and follow her on Instagram at Wealth with Tess.
Yeah. And the website's actually changing. So wealthwithtess.com is the updated website. So go check it out. There's tons of resources on there that are free that you can grab and start learning.
Yeah, you're going to see some pretty cool stuff come out about Tess on Instagram. So make sure you definitely follow her there as well. And Tess, I'm so grateful that you were able to be here today. And for the women that are out there listening to this, you have to remember you're the only you that's ever been, and you're the only you that will ever be. What does that mean? It's not too late, right? It's never too late to get the education that we need to learn how to invest our money better. And you don't have to have a lot of money to make a lot of money. I think that's the biggest thing is it can be a little bit of money that you put away every month to be able to start compounding, to be able to earn the interest and be able to make the returns. Is that right, Tess? You don't have to have $5,000 a month that you invest right away. And most people think, well, I don't have the money to invest.
Yeah, I'm so glad you said that, Colleen. I think that's one of the things that holds people back is they think they have to be totally debt free and you need to be investing thousands. If you can start with $100 a month, that's going to add up over time and then you can increase it. But don't hold back from learning because you don't feel like you have enough to invest because compound interest is super powerful and every bit will matter.
I 1,000% agree. Well, thanks, Tess Waresmith, for being the guest on today's show. And thank you all for joining us on today's show. And until next time, never forget, be you and be strong. Bye-bye for now.
Thank you for joining us on this journey of self-discovery, where you learned the tools to create a life by design. Remember, you are the only you there is, and you are the only you that will ever be. Be you and be strong, because you are brilliant, and the world needs you at your best. We cannot wait for you to join us again next time.